He has the build, he has the athleticism, he ran well, and my gosh, I was really impressed with him throwing wise. And I think he's a smart guy. I really think he's a guy that's going to compete at the next level, that's going to figure it out. Hopefully, he's not one of those guys where he's drafted and just thrown right into the fire and gets destroyed by a terrible scheme, a terrible coordinator, and just a bad situation all around. I think he could work, but I hesitate to say that because the combine does things to you. And the combine did something for me, for Will Levis. He's honestly a guy that I hadn't watched a ton. I know a lot of people have, and they were like, he's not a good quarterback. It was a terrible system in Kentucky. And, look at the talent that he didn't have around him this year. That's why he struggled. And I'm looking at the guy, I'm looking at the makeup, I'm looking at the player, and he kind of checks a lot of the boxes for me. But it's almost a similar conversation like we have with coaches. A coach is sometimes only as good as his players. Well, a quarterback sometimes is only as good as the talent around him that can accentuate, his skill set. And whether or not he had that at Kentucky, I don't really care. It's a developmental type of thing. And he seems like a guy that checks enough of the boxes in terms of the measurables and just smarts and the ability to throw that, hey, if you do put the talent around him, I think he can compete in an NFL offense and be successful.
When you look at that 2021 tape, that huge arm is really accurate. He's very productive. They won 10 games. I believe that was his personal best season in terms of the numbers. And he's also a willing runner. He can move and he can be physical there. I'm really dismayed watching him in both years and how he feels pressure. I saw a stat this week that talked about the pressure to sack conversion rate. And 34% of the time that he was pressured, he was ultimately sacked. For Bryce Young, that number was 12%. For Anthony Richardson, that was 11%. And for Richardson, while we compare him to another project, that showed Richardson was just grown man strong. He just pushed defensive ends off of him, throw the ball away. Levis would keep trying to chase down these plays, and a lot of the time he'd come down. And I'm not really sure how that pressure is going to translate. So I listen to the Athletic Football Show a lot. Nate Tice, Robert Mays, they talk about the idea of easy buttons on offense. I think you would need some of those for Will Levis where he doesn't have to think a lot and he knows where he's going with the ball. I think you would want a really strong offensive line. And Houston, similar to Richardson, I'm just not sure that's a situation where he has time to overcome some of those weaknesses before he falls into bad habits.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.